from the Corning Museum of Glass and our hot glass demonstration. This is Claire Cataract. Let me say, give her a nice big round of applause. She'll begin by gathering some clear, molten soda lime glass from our furnace, which is kept at 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the glass is as hot as lava. It looks like honey, so it's very soft and gooey, but it's also very sticky. So she's rolling through these little chips or shards of glass called frit. The color she chose is a new red. A really pretty, bright, transparent red, which will look brown today when it's hot. But when it cools off, it'll be just like the frit in the jar here. It's beautiful and bright red. It'll look brown because it's still holding the heat. So some colors look very different while they're hot. So she'll heat this up. She'll melt those little chips or shards of glass onto the surface. She'll sit down at the bench and she's going to shape things up with a wooden scoop tool called a block. These blocks are soaked in water and the hot glass glides along on a thin layer of steam and carbon. She'll fill the pipe with air. She'll trap the air inside with her thumb. And if you watch carefully, you're going to see the heat cause the air trapped inside to expand, forcing a small bubble right out into that soft hot glass. So that's how we begin the process, with a little bit of glass and a little bit of air. Now she's going to let this cool off, and she'll go back into the furnace for another gather. So I'm going to put a quick animation up on the screens. Inside this furnace is a big ceramic crucible. It holds about 1,000 pounds of glass when it's full. She'll go in, she'll dip the bubble below the surface, she'll keep the pipe turning in one direction, and she'll come out with 2 to 3 times one turn. And enough glass to make anything you see here on the pipe. Makes it red. Maybe cadmium or selenium. Might be some reds and oranges. I'm not really sure what makes that red color. Different metal oxides, salts, and chlorides create different colors. So iron makes green, manganese makes purple, cobalt makes a really dark cobalt blue, copper makes a turquoise blue, tin, titanium, selenium, cadmium, they all change the color of glass. Gold, chloride makes a ruby red, so more like a cranberry colored red. I don't know what makes that look like that. Do either of you know what makes this nice red color? The red color? Fire color from a company in Germany. So they do all the mixing. I have to look up in somebody's batch book. There's a display right now, or an exhibit called Brilliant Color. So if you get a chance to see that today, you definitely should. And there's 3 batch books in there. So it's all about color and how it became more of the process. And so there was a glass company would have had a chemist who mixed the colors. And they would have these batch books, and it was a recipe. So they try a color, write down like everything they put in, say like, watch this, she's going to drop it down to a mold. Like a gram of cadmium or a gram of cobalt, 2 grams of copper, to Because it takes just a little bit of that oxide for 100 pounds of glass or so. And so in those batch books, there's recipes of the different colors. And, I'm not sure what it's right. So she's got those ribs. This is going to leave those thicker and thinner areas. And she's going to switch it up a little bit by squeezing those ribs together instead of shears. So it's going to create this sort of big diamond facet on it. Yeah?
My son was asking how you get the camera in there.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So there's a camera inside that furnace. There's a camera that sits right behind that furnace, and it looks through a special window. So it's a special type of glass that allows that camera to go in there. It's called fused silica. It was developed here in Corning in the 30s by an organic chemist trying to develop a glass that was as close to quartz. So it's pure silica sand. They dissolve the silica molecules and then run it through a 4,000 degree flame. And it fuses the silica particles in such a way that it's very pure, optically clear, and has a very high melting temperature. And it really had no use until NASA came to Corning. And they needed a special glass for the space shuttle's windshield. And that's what we gave them. We just use it here for fun. So, this is, I don't know if you can kind of see that little pinch right there. That's those pinched ribs like Claire was just doing. The way those thicker areas are pinched together. So she's going to start inflating this by tapping on a foot pedal, which will introduce air through that blow hose and out into the glass. She'll squeeze in the line right off the head of the blowpipe. That line is going to become very important a little later on. That's where she's going to break the glass free from the blowpipe. It's like the thin, weak lines in a chocolate bar. They allow you to snap it apart easily, share it with your friends. Same thing. The glass will break right along that thin, weak line. We're going to pop open a door because this bubble is getting bigger and bigger. She'll pull the tip of the bubble with the strap of the jacks. She'll tap on that foot pedal, which will introduce air through the hose and out into the glass. And then she's going to ask Katie for a stem. We will bring over a little bit of glass fresh from the furnace, and Claire will gather it onto the tip of that bubble. And stick it on, wind it around, and then by pulling it to a fine thread, breaks free. She'll shape it first to sort of a cone shape. Then she'll use the blades of the jacks to cut down into that cone shape to create the stem. Katie's grabbed a wooden board because they're also going to make a little flat disc on the end of the stem for the foot. There we go, they work together, pushing the glass between the blades of those jacks, and that wooden board creates that little flat disc. I'm not 100% sure, but I think in that brilliant color exhibit, there's a little screen. This big wall of all these different colored glass pieces. And I think if you touch the screen and pick on the other pieces of the color, it'll tell you what metal might make it for. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I kind of feel like that this one. He's going to bring over a little bit more clear glass. Stick it on and wind it around. We'll pull it to a fine thread. Breaks free. She'll then use the Swedish style filling tool. Two cherry wood boards that are hinged together at the bottom. And she's going to squeeze and press the glass right out into a thin, round foot. She made that look super easy, but actually it's quite difficult. Go back to the heat, warming up the bubble, trying to maintain temperature of over 1,000 degrees throughout the piece. We're really never going to let it cool off. And Katie will help her out this time to make sure that the foot will hold the piece up nice and straight. These angles called pinch. It's a little bit of glass on the end of a solid rod that'll act as glue. We want this to stick and hold now. And we want it to very easily pop off when we're finished. She'll shape it up to sort of a Q-tip shape. Once they have that nice Q-tip shape, she'll bring it over to Claire, where Claire will stick and place it right on center. We'll run the two irons together, making sure everything stays lined up, centered. And then all it will take is a few drops of room temperature water on that constriction line I made earlier, like tap. This should pop right off. How about a big round of applause for a nice, clean And now if you look up at the screen, you can see there's a small hole left behind. So, a little bit more about that camera, that window. The camera's just behind the oven, a few silica, it was used for the space shuttle's windshield. But in the 70s, 3 scientists here in Corning were working on optical fibers. They pulled out that fused silica once again. And because it's optically clear, that's what the laser light signals travel through. So, with the glass developed here in the 30s, and the technology that was further developed here in the 70s, we're all connected by a very fine strand of glass. It's finer than a human hair. That's how we receive all our information instantly. Yeah. Pretty cool. Go in, open that up. Yeah, I think we sometimes think of glass and take it for granted, think of windows and jars, but if you sit down at night and you stream a movie, it's brought to you by glass. Very, very specific glass developed right here in the 30s. A scientist who was just trying to create glass and had no idea what it was. Or maybe he did, I don't know. She just trimmed through the lip with a set of shears. So she cut about 1.5 inches off the top. Cutting through glass when it's hot is fairly easy. It's soft and spongy. She trimmed the lip to to refine it, to give the glass a nice, thin, delicate lip, but also make sure it's nice and straight across. But it also did cut back into those ribs, so the top of this bowl, the edge of this bowl, might have a nice scalloped edge when she's finished. So she could leave it just like that. Or she can open this up a little further by using heat and centrifugal force. She goes in. You see that beautiful pattern from where she pitched the glass? Once it becomes hot and soft, it'll start to wiggle or wobble. She'll turn real fast. It opens wide like a plate butter. Holding it down will create these beautiful fabric like ruffles. What do you think? This piece is finished, so you'll have to imagine right now it looks sort of liver red. It's going to brighten up to this beautiful bright red. A few drops of room temperature water and a very light sets it free. It does leave a sharp edge. Hot glass breaks just like cold glass. A sharp edge, so a fire polish away that sharp edge. And into our slow cooling oven for slow cooling. See if you can tell. For that size piece, 8 to 12 hours or overnight. Clear cataract, everyone. Any questions? Yes.